In this video, we're going to take a look at beat frequencies. So let's start with a picture. We've got two speakers which are both emitting a sound. Now let's say the sound from these speakers both have different frequencies. So the frequencies are close, but they're not exactly the same. So from speaker 1, we'll call that frequency 1, and then from speaker 2, we'll call that frequency 2. Now let's imagine that frequency 1 is slightly higher than frequency 2. If we draw the graphs of the sound waves coming out of speaker 1 and speaker 2, they'll look like this. For speaker 1, the graph will look a little bit tighter because if we have a higher frequency, then we're going to have more cycles per second. For frequency 2, it'll look a little bit more spaced out because we're going to have less cycles per second. Now let's think about what's going to happen to the person standing between these two speakers. They're going to hear the sound from speaker 1 and speaker 2, and what's going to happen is those two sound waves are going to add together. So there'll be certain times when those sound waves add together constructively so that their amplitude will be very high, and then there'll be certain times where the sound waves will add together destructively, so the sounds will cancel out. The person standing between the speakers will hear a beat, and we can calculate the beat frequency by taking the absolute value of frequency 1 minus frequency 2. So if we take a look at this equation, you'll notice that it doesn't matter which one we call frequency 1 and frequency 2 in this case. All that matters is the difference between those two frequencies. So if you have one frequency that's 100 Hertz and another frequency of 110 Hertz, what you'll hear is a beat frequency of 10 Hertz, the difference between those two frequencies. Now let's take a look at an example. We've got a computer that simultaneously plays sounds of 372 Hertz and 360 Hertz. What is the beat frequency that will be heard by nearby observers? So let's start with our equation. We know that our beat frequency is going to be the absolute value of frequency 1 minus frequency 2. So if we say that frequency 1 is 372 Hertz and frequency 2 is 360 Hertz, we'll get the absolute value of the difference, which will just give us 12 Hertz. So you'll notice in this case, because we're using the absolute value here, it doesn't matter which one we call frequency 1 and frequency 2. Really all we care about is the difference between those two frequencies. Now let's take a look at another question. We've got two guitar strings which both vibrate at the same time and produce a beat frequency of 12 Hertz. One of the guitar strings emits a sound with a frequency of 296 Hertz. What are the possible frequencies of the other guitar string? So let's start with our equation. We have our beat frequency is equal to the absolute value of frequency 1 minus frequency 2. Now we just have to be careful here because what we know is that the beat frequency is 12 Hertz. So what that means is that our other frequency can either be 12 Hertz higher than 296 or 12 Hertz lower than 296. We can also show that with our equation. So if we get rid of our absolute values and we say that plus or minus the beat frequency is equal to frequency 1 minus frequency 2, then let's say frequency 1 is equal to 296 Hertz and rearrange for frequency 2. So we'll get frequency 2 is equal to frequency 1 plus or minus the beat frequency. So we'll get that frequency 2 is equal to 296 Hertz plus or minus 12 Hertz. Then if we plug those numbers in, we'll get frequency 2 as 284 Hertz or 308 Hertz. So just something to keep in mind with these questions is you just have to be careful that if they give you a question like this where they're telling you the beat frequency, then what that means is that you're going to get two solutions because what matters is that the difference is 12 Hertz. It doesn't matter whether it's 12 Hertz higher or 12 Hertz lower. That's it for this one. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below and I'll answer those as soon as I can.